Okay.
All right, everybody. Thank you for joining us today on Off the Grid, Episode 7. We've got with us Rich, the car guru, Jesse, right back from Mars, and we've got Steven from Solar City Tesla. So it's a limited summer crew that we've got working on today.
You went to Mars?
Well, you know, he's our SpaceX representative, so...
Fair enough.
I just have a backpack, that's all.
Right.
Olympus Mons?
Where on Mars have you been? All right, so someplace that we are going, though, we wanted to let viewers know that we're going to the Model 3 delivery event, Jesse and I. So we are very excited about that. And we wanted the panel's predictions on the impact of the Model 3. Let's say we fast forward a year from now. What do you think the impact will be on the Model 3 coming out? Do you think it's going to be ho-hum?
What are some a news headline that you're expecting to see? Like, is it going to be like Ford officially unveils the new
bankruptcy?
Yeah, all right. Or like more of a fun news story, like, you know, teen in auto driving scandal. Like is it going to have issues where people are going to be?
Well, that's right.
Because
it could be an autopilot. Like, we could be talking about serious levels of autopilot in a year.
All right. I think three things are going to happen. Three scenarios.
Okay.
One, the news / media is going to focus on the negative aspects of it. There's going to be, shocking. Someone is going, because it's going to be a more mass-produced car, and every single time a Model S gets into an autopilot snafu, it makes national headlines. There's going to be more of the Model 3 on the road than Model S's, and any little thing that happens, whether it be, you know, an axle breaks, or, you know, someone goes to the back seat to watch, you know, the latest Batman movie and wants the car to drive them home, things like that, it's not to bubble up. I think number two, another big headline is going to be the clogging of the supercharger stations, because as of right now in California and other areas out west, you know, there's an issue with Teslas and supercharging stations. But if you add the Model 3 production to that as well, that's going to be a pretty big issue as well, I think.
Interesting.
And then third, manufacturers scurrying to produce their own electric vehicle as well. I think
that's going to be bigger and better than the Model 3.
Yeah, absolutely. They're just going to play catch up for the next few years, and they're going to make a car that doesn't look good, that no one wants, like the Volt. Just kidding. Just kidding.
Oh, well, Volt sales have leveled off.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Starting to build up an inventory of them. So,
wow.
Not what they expected. They thought they were just going to keep flying off the shelf, but they have
kind of stabilized.
And it's probably because Model 3 is about to come out soon. I think when it was a year ago, people were like, "Oh, I'm going to get my Bolt now." But, you know, when it's in production.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think a big thing is what I've been reading is a lack of I guess, dealer education on the cars. So a lot of people go there and say, "Hey, I want one. Can I use this charger?" And they're like, "What's a charger? Why don't you just buy a Malibu instead? Malibus are cool."
Yeah. Right.
So, yeah.
What do you think, Steven? A year from now?
Yeah, no, it's going to be that duality between there's going to be a lot of great things to be said about it, and then there's going to be a lot of negativity. That's just...
Do you think there's any chance, though, that it's going to surprise us, that a year from now everyone's going to just be like, "Oh my God, Tesla is this awesome company. I need to get a car." Like, do you think that it's going to... Because, I mean, we're talking about, there's about 200,000 Teslas on the road today. A year from now, we could be talking about close to 700,000.
Yeah.
I mean, so in places like California, where you already see Teslas all the time, you could be talking about seeing them like crazy. And in places like here, where you barely ever see one, you're going to see them.
Yeah.
Could that have an impact? Would people be like... Because, again, this is going to be a car that when you do see it, first of all, it looks amazing.
Yep.
Second of all, it's not that expensive. Like, it's affordable.
I think some of the bigger impacts are going to be ones that probably we don't see or hear about much. It's going to be like, you know, some guy in some rural place who couldn't afford a Model S, but really wanted to get you know, a long-range EV, especially because, you know, he's in somewhere where, you know, the charging network is not as developed, is now going to be able to be like, you know what? I'm going to be able to convince the wife to get this car because I can afford it, and then he's going to show his friends, and his friends, this is going to be the first time they're going to see a Tesla, and I think it's going to blow people's minds when he's able to put it into autopilot, and, you know, even just the autopilot still can blow people's minds.
That's true.
And especially when you're in, you know, a more rural place, I think it's going to really, you know, like, it's just a lot of A to B traveling. There's not a lot of twists and turns. Autopilot's made for that. I think that could really, really, build some support that you haven't thought of yet.
All right. Well, we'll have to revisit in a year, see what we're talking about.
True. From Mars.
From Mars. So this next story is that a coal CEO admits that clean coal is a myth. So CEO Robert Murray of Murray Energy Corp. Now, this isn't some tiny coal company. I thought at first maybe they just found some guy who was a closet environmentalist. But no, this is the country's largest privately held coal mining company. He said, quote, "Carbon capture and sequestration does not work. It's a pseudonym for no coal. It is neither practical nor economic. Carbon capture and sequestration is just cover for the politicians, both Republicans and Democrats, that say, 'Look what I did for coal,' knowing all the time that it doesn't help coal at all. All these people will be jumping on this side and the other, because it's all about money, but it's not about America. America needs reliable, low-cost electricity, and that is a mix of different fuels."
Right. So this is from a coal CEO.
Yeah. Who still believes in coal. Right. But he's basically saying, don't lie about the fact that you can make clean coal. That's just not a thing.
And the process by which clean coal is supposed to work is laughable when you start to learn about it. It's like, oh, first you get the coal, and then you burn it, then you put it through some scrubbers that basically absorb all of the crap that you just poured out into the air. Then you have to now we'll do a really energy-intensive chemical process to get the CO2 into a solid state, and then we'll pump it under the ground when we get oil from that.
Right. So, the question is coal going to take a nosedive like it has for instance, in UK? If we look at a chart, I think we have a chart over there, Brent, that we can pull up on a link on that story. It basically shows renewables, coal, gas, and basically what they've been up to for the past few years. At the lower bottom, the light blue that's going up, that is solar and wind.
Oh.
Gas is in yellow. So gas has taken a little spike lately to make up for the lack of coal. But basically, as you can see, coal is dipped now below solar and wind in the UK. So, the question is coal destined for that same kind of graph here in the US, do you think? Or are we going to hang on a lot longer than the UK did? What are your thoughts?
Depends on the misinformation campaigns, really. I think that's what it comes down to. Once the knowledge is really distributed of the positive aspects of what we can do with renewable resources, it should evolve.
We'll spread this chart then. The links are down. The links are down below. So tell all your friends that even coal people know this can't keep going,
and that there's no such thing as clean coal.
Right. It just sounds good. It's a good little. I'm sure in their focus group that worked really well.
This is going to be awesome.
It's a very political.
It sounds great.
Thing.
Yeah.
It's like new Coke.
Right. Clear Pepsi. Remember Clear Pepsi?
Remember that? So Tesla is paying for the development of destination AC chargers that all EVs can use. This is something I didn't know about till we saw a story in Electric about a month ago. So you know that you go to a destination charger, those businesses were largely paid for by Tesla to put in those destination chargers. Well, what I didn't know was that Tesla suggests to those businesses to also put in a level 2, like a Clipper Creek, one of those chargers next to it, even though it doesn't necessarily help a Tesla owner, because they're already going to be a destination charger. And Tesla will pay for that level 2 charger. So the question is, is Tesla doing, they're being pretty stupid, aren't they, for a business? They're paying for something they don't need.
Yeah.
Why are they doing it?
Yeah, this speaks volumes about what Elon Musk said. I think back in 2011, before the Model S was revealed, that he wanted to promote the clean energy movement, and that's exactly what he's doing, because he wants to make it so that he would rather see Tesla go down the tubes than. Sorry, let me take that back. He would rather watch his company suffer than watch, I guess, the entire world suffer before him. He would rather have everyone promote clean energy and clean resources, and have all manufacturers have, clean EV vehicles. I think that's his main goal, whether with him, releasing his several patents or doing something like this. I think that he really, because I was trying to dissect this and think, how this doesn't make any sense.
Right. Where's the?
It's almost like he's just giving money. Where's the incentive?
Right.
He's just giving money away. But after thinking about it, I really think that he believes in the cause, and he really wants other auto manufacturers to step up to the plate and say, "Hey, let me see what you guys have."
Right. And I think it's amazing that he's able to inspire this, but also keep that going within the company and do something like this, which, you know, is not on all the marketing brochures.
Right.
It's
They never talk about it.
Right. It's not like we're supporting people in some place, or we do charity or anything like that. This is basically a charity to people like me who have to drive a Leaf every day, and and you know, it's something that I could take advantage of, even though I didn't pay a cent to Tesla.
I mean, it's also, I suppose, a good PR thing for the company, right? Because you pull up in your Leaf at this destination charger next to a Tesla, and you get to check out the Tesla and talk to the owner and be
that was exactly what my point was going to be. I mean, most of the places that I go to, that like commercial, or I have a lot of friends in apartment complexes that have both those chargers, and the conversations that you get out of it, I mean, it's just... It absolutely helps, because a lot of people are like, oh no, I was thinking of that'll be my next car, or when's the Model 3 coming out, so on and so forth, and then it just brings up that conversation. So it's part of it too. I mean, anything to just bring out, this is the most efficient solution, and if we can do that, whatever it takes.
Speaking of marketing, I've heard so many people that say to me something like, oh, that's a Tesla, and I'm like, yeah, it's a Tesla, and they're like, isn't that car that's coming out?
Yeah.
And you're like, yep, the Model 3 is coming out. And they're like, is that what it is? Like, they've heard something about the car, but like very little substantive information. And maybe it's just through a friend, but it doesn't seem like they've gotten it from a newspaper article or anything. It's just kind of, they've heard the name Tesla.
It's a very, I mean, because they don't advertise and stuff like that, it's not a mainstream product. It's not like a, oh, that's a Chevy Malibu, or that's a Chevy Volt, because I've seen that. Oh, of course, you haven't heard anything about the Bolt, because they keep that under wraps. But
There's two.
Yeah, the one with the B that no one.
Well, that segues into Porsche. So Porsche has actually changed their mind. They were originally like anti-EV, right? And then just recently, CEO Oliver Bloom from Porsche said that they expect to have 50% of their production be electric within 6 years. Now, 6 years is a long way away, but basically they said by 2023 they will expect to have 60,000 cars a year, both the Mission E, which is coming out next year, 2019.
Yeah.
And then they have another car, I don't think they've named it yet, which is going to be based on the Macan, which is like another SUV style.
Like a Model Y-ish kind of thing,
like a smaller SUV. So they say between those two, they're planning on 60,000 of those a year by 2023. Now, keep in mind, they sell about 230,000 cars a year. So this would still be like a quarter of their sales. And then also keep in mind that that's 60,000 cars compared to Tesla next year would probably be selling around 500,000 cars.
Right. But, I mean, keep in mind this is Porsche. They already sell less cars than Tesla.
Right. Let's look at some stats here. From 2014 to 15, Model S sales grew by 51%. During that same time period, 14 to 15, Porsche Panamera went down 13%. So Porsche sales are down, Model S sales are up. They're definitely losing to Tesla. I guess this is why they're forced to start admitting that maybe they've made the wrong call. I don't know. It just seems, again, too little too late. Like, I guess you pick 6 years because you think that'll give you enough time to get your factories going and all that, but I almost wonder if that's just a made-up number, because I think you just pick a number like 6 years because you think that'll give you the time, but I don't know if they even have a plan to actually get there in 6 years. Do you guys get that sense that they're actually got an actual plan to get there?
I was thinking about this, actually, and I think, this may sound crazy, hear me out, I think this is stemming from a little bit higher than Porsche. I think this is coming from the Audi group, essentially the company that owns Volkswagen and Porsche. And I think this in part may stem from Dieselgate. Remember where it turns out that hey, these cars or SUVs aren't as efficient as we said they were, and we lied on the emissions test. I think this stems higher than that because Volkswagen, Audi, and Porsche, they share parts. So I think that what's happening is there's almost like a pass down, like some parts that Porsches get eventually, like the Audis get, and then in turn the Volkswagens get. I think that in a sense, to make up for the whole Dieselgate scandal, Volkswagen is saying, hey, you know what, we really need to start pushing out efficient cars. It starts from the top with Porsche, and eventually those parts are going to trickle down to Volkswagen.
Well, I read Audi was going to have their own electric E-Wagon as well. That's coming out. So
and the e-Golf is out. So I think They want to build their brand by starting at the top first, because everyone has that, the Halo brand, and eventually it works its way down to other.
It's almost like the Roadster and the S, like build up that luxury brand first, get the name recognition,
and then it trickles down. So I think it's going to start with Porsche, and then Volkswagen will say, "Hey, we're doing the same thing. What a coincidence, huh?" So I think it's going to happen.
Interesting. All right, so speaking of electric cars, let's go to electric pickup trucks. Bison, which is an electric pickup truck introduced by Havilar. I don't know how to pronounce it. It's Canadian. Canadians, please tell me how to pronounce it. It's a new pickup truck that was designed and built in Canada. It's made just for Canadians. I don't even know if they're going to release it in the U.S.
It's the friendliest pickup truck in the world.
It's a very friendly pickup truck. It is. It'll have a range of 186 miles. It'll be four-wheel drive with dual electric motors. Question for you guys: would you buy a Bison now if you're in the market for a pickup truck, or wait? What do we think? 2-3 years for the Tesla pickup truck?
Let's pull up a picture of the Bison.
Yeah, we need to see what it looks like.
You need to see what it looks like before you're going to buy it.
Yeah,
I didn't see the Model 3 before.
That's true. I didn't see the Model 3 before I put $1,000 down.
True, but we knew that Franz works
track record. Yeah,
right. So this is what the Bison looks like.
Looking at it, I think it's the ugliest pickup truck I've ever seen personally, and I don't really. I would wait. I would definitely wait. I would drive I'd be burdened by driving a Model S for those years until this, because this looks like a rendering that maybe, like, I want to say a 6.5-year-old. The body lines aren't lining up. What's in the bed? I don't even know. It just doesn't make any sense.
Isn't this just a rendering though?
No, still, they could have rendered better than that.
That is a rendering.
That's not a. That's not a photo.
No, that is a rendering.
Oh, okay. Because I thought they had an actual. I thought they took the sheet off of an actual
that's
truck.
That's a Photoshop.
They took off the sheet off the rendering.
Right. Render. Yes. I mean, I know it didn't drive at the auto show, but we couldn't find any video of it, so we know it doesn't drive.
Right.
As of now.
But I mean, would you? Okay, let's say it looks a bit better than this. Maybe you can.
I'm market for an electric truck myself, so I'm open to the idea if it has the range and the torque, the capabilities.
It's got a carbon fiber reinforced steel frame for class-leading torsion, stiffness, and enhanced durability and handling. It has a touchscreen display that looks a lot like the Model S's. It's driver assist technology calibrated to meet both the day-to-day work demands and active lifestyle needs of adventurers.
Oh wow, it's amazing. See, I feel like this is it's like the great value. You have like the actual brand name, like you have like Kicks, yes, and then you have like Cax, which is like the Walmart brand. This is kind of like that. It's just like I couldn't do it because I would drive it and someone would say, hey, that's a new Tesla pickup because it's hideous, and I'd have to say no, it's not. This is the great value version.
Gotcha.
I'd say, oh, why didn't you wait for it? And then I'd have to explain it to them.
I see. Not very good looking.
Sorry.
I'm
sorry.
It's just a rendering.
Yeah,
that's true.
That's a Ford and a Dodge thrown together.
Yeah,
a little bit.
I like the rear fender. It looks like almost like a question mark. Like, what's going on here?
Why am I here?
Like someone raising their eyebrows. Why do I exist?
I really like the what is it? Is that a chrome panel that runs from the back end all the way up to the front?
The swoosh there.
That little swoosh.
Yeah. The Nike swoosh.
Yeah, it's pretty.
You know, I take back what I said. I'll probably end up buying one like next year. Hey guys, hey, pick one up.
Well, if you can find a smashed one,
yeah, why not?
And it'll be in Canada, so you know.
Hey, if they smash it, it might look a little bit better.
Oh, you can plastic dip all that chrome.
Yeah.
Right. So every time you pay your electric bill, I didn't know this, but you're paying a small amount to the Edison Institute, which is this bleep group that basically lobbies against rooftop solar. So even though we don't want to be, we're helping to fight against solar every time we pay our electric bill, which just really sucks. But this story kind of feeds into that. This is utilities have been arguing rules that allow private solar companies to sell excess power back to the grid. So if you're a private solar customer, they don't want you to be able to sell power back to the grid. It's a practice known as net metering. We have that in Massachusetts. So basically, if I'm making solar on my roof during the noon, I can, and I'm not using as much as I'm making, I can put it back onto the grid and get paid for it. They do not like this idea at all. So they've been lobbying against this, and the same group of investor-owned utilities is now poised to sway solar policy at the federal level. So Brian McCormick, he's a former top executive at the Edison Institute. He's now the Energy Secretary Rick Perry's chief of staff. And in April, Mr. Perry ordered an examination of how renewable energy may be hurting conventional sources like coal, oil, and natural gas. And environmentalists were worried that study would upend federal policies. So in Florida last year, the utility industry contributed more than $21 million to an ultimately unsuccessful ballot initiative to ban third-party sales and leasing of rooftop solar panels. And they leaked an audio recording that appeared to reveal that the utility campaign deliberately misled pro-solar voters into voting for an anti-solar policy, a tactic that one consultant called political jiu-jitsu. So what do we do about this? And why is this still a thing? Why is it that we have these lobby groups that we have to pay into even though they're not lobbying for what we want? And how can we stop it? Like, who can we contact? Is this kind of thing we can call our congressperson about, or is this just something that's just built into the back rooms of Washington and we're just kind of stuck with it?
There are certain, like Vermont, for instance, they actually just coupled with the Powerwall with Tesla, and the utility company themselves are offering an incentive for a battery backup generation. Green Mountain Power knows that they're nearing the end. It's Darwinism. If they don't evolve, they're going to die, and they're teaming on that, realizing like this is what we need to do moving forward.
Why did they get it? Like, just because they're in Bernie Sanders' home state and they're just smarter up there, or like
essentially, yeah, that could be a part of it. But no, it's just they understand that this is the future. This is what we're headed towards. I mean, a lot of people that aren't susceptible to change, and then those, like in our state, in Massachusetts, it's like we have 3 utilities in the entire state, besides municipalities, which are generally run by solar farms. And their utility rates are half of what we spend for regular utilities.
Wait, so certain towns in Massachusetts have their own power...
Municipal electrical light departments.
And how did they get to do that? Like, was this something that had to have happened hundreds of years ago?
Or? Early settlers of Catan, they just kind of established themselves. It's not like we could take our town and pull it into being its own electrical light department.
Why not?
National Grid owns the wires. They own the infrastructure, and therefore they claim territory out of it.
Oh, so we'd have to put up our own wires. Which would be almost impossible now.
Right. And that's kind of the challenge. And because that they have that kind of strength, and there's so many people that still are like, it just sounds like a lot of work. And it's really not. You know, if we just switch to... The utility companies, it's very simple. If they switch to battery backup generation, it just makes a lot more sense anyway.
Right.
But it's just the fight that we got to keep.
Do you think that these utilities are going to slowly see these examples happening across the world and the country?
Green Mountain Power is going to be... I mean, we see it everywhere else but America. Kudos to everywhere outside of here for the most part. But no, like Green Mountain Power, that's a step in the right direction, and I like to see that happening in other states as well. It will.
I mean, so like the island of Kauai in Hawaii, they're a cooperative there. So basically the people own the power company, and they decided to have Tesla come in, bid on putting in the solar farm, which they did. This picture was taken on July 3rd. That is the Kauai Tesla solar field. And if you look at it and you're like, that looks pretty green.
That looks like a field.
It is because... I guess what was happening, it was planted, it was built on a cane field, and I guess that's weeds and cane that's growing up between them. So we did a little research, and we found out that when they built that, it's built on like a 200-acre parcel, and the solar itself takes up about 50 acres or so. And basically... It is a little overgrown in that picture, and that was from like 3 weeks ago. They have since taken care of the problem, and in fact, that they were saying that because they get so much sun there, it didn't actually cut back on the solar generation. So they're still at beyond 100% of what they were predicting. But so they have sheep that eat the grass and do the mowing, because basically it has to be agricultural use when they do the plant, and so sheep was a way to keep it agricultural, and so sheep do all the mowing for them on that parcel. And so now our sources tell us that the problem's taken care of, and they've caught up with the grass, and everything's good to go. I just thought that was really cool that, again, it kind of feeds into, because it was a cooperative, they were able to do something cool like this, which is they've got Tesla power packs, they've got Tesla solar panels, and they are powering their island now with renewable energy, as opposed to typical energy companies who would probably just build a power plant there.
it's amazing just how green it is. Like, it's literally green. You know, and if you think about it, just think about the fact that, you know, there's sheep and like goats and whatever animals and rabbits running around like eating the grass and taking care of the property. Like, they're taking care of that natural land that was originally theirs and like self-sustaining themselves. We're trying to do the same thing. Imagine having any of those animals like sheep or goats like in an actual power plant. But, you know, imagine that. It just wouldn't happen.
There's a bunch of like knobs and buttons and everything, and just a goat like
they would start developing like human-like faces. And it's just amazing.
And they're pushing sheep out of the way. Like, so if you come over here, you're gonna see all this coal.
Yeah, it's amazing how green it is. It's pretty cool.
No, but you're right. As a co-op, and that's the important part. Like, every town, if we just establish ourselves in town kinships, like every town has the ability to take all their commercial facilities or commercial departments or just main schools and facilities and solarize them.
I know. I mean,
done.
Like, we could get rid of the power. We don't need them. They're not so great. They're just for profit. And we could then, each municipality would be making their own power and keeping costs low. And, I mean, like, we could do it.
Establish farmers markets, get your solar systems, get your... Yeah. It's not hard.
But this is kind of good in the way because it shows that they're scared. It shows that, you know, people that are promoting, you know, clean energy, they're making progress. And it shows that they're like, okay, well, wait a minute, they're selling us back energy and we used to sell it to them, and more people are doing this, so we have to buy energy from them, so we're losing money. So they're scared. You know, essentially, where does that, if this keeps carrying on, and let's just say everyone has solar, everyone has their own, you know, backup generator based on a solar battery bank. Where are the power companies? Like, where's their responsibility?
Right.
And that's what they're scared of. It's almost like the taxi cabs and Uber in Boston.
It really is. I mean,
it's literally what it is. Because I remember when they were protesting in Boston. A lot of the taxi cab drivers, they were driving past the Uber headquarters, blaring their horns, saying, like, you know, you're taking away, you know, our jobs. Like, you know, this is terrible, terrible. And on that day, Uber had skyrocketed in terms of sales because the taxi cabs were promoting Uber. They were saying Uber stinks, and it's like, oh, who's Uber?
Who's Uber?
Wait,
Who's Uber, and why don't the taxis not like Uber?
Yeah, that's weird. Oh, I just downloaded the app. Now I use Uber now. Thank you.
Right. Oh, wow, that was awesome.
Wow.
Right. So exactly.
And it wasn't a disgusting cab.
Well, and also, I mean, to own a cab like in Boston, you have to own a medallion, which you basically costs a lot of money because they limit the number of medallions. So it's not like you and I could go out and be our own taxi driver in Boston anyway.
In general,
right? We would have to buy a medallion or rent into one, which costs a lot of money. So, you know, that's the part of the story they don't tell you, which is like tomorrow you and I could be an Uber driver and fit it. We could do a second job as an Uber driver, which many people do, and do it on our own schedule, like, with our own car. So, and it could be an EV. Like, whereas you don't see many, I don't think I've seen any EVs in Boston doing taxi driving.
Right.
Yeah, that's an excellent point, and that's technology finding a way to do it cheaper and better.
Yeah. So it just shows that they're scared.
They are,
because they're essentially, they're literally losing money.
Right. I wanted to ask you, Stephen, if when you go to put a solar system on your roof, you look at past usage of electricity to find out what size system to build, and that's not just an arbitrary thing, right? The power companies don't want you to build a system that's bigger than what you need.
Right.
But here's my thing. Let's say I don't have an electric car yet, and next year I'm going to get a Model 3. I still have to base it on last year's use, right?
Yeah, so a lot of the utility companies, that's one way that they kind of slow the growth, is they give us a hard cap. It's like a cap in terms of like how much energy you can actually produce. So it's like either 100% your power, maybe it'll give you 125%, but it's only based off of the last 12 months usage. And they audit your bill, so they audit the usage of the systems that we design to make certain that it's for that same amount of usage.
And that's basically to keep, it sounds like it's to keep you from building too big a solar.
Producing more, yeah. Right. So, I mean, to advocate for the utility on that, I understand it in terms of transitional load. Like, if the transformers can't handle that, then they have to backpedal. That's important. The infrastructure isn't built. It should be. But if it isn't built, then I can see the argument there, but it just shows, like, that's where we need to move towards it. And, I mean, like, in certain, what we're dealing with here, I mean, in certain utility areas as well, we're prevented from doing Powerwall right now. You can't install a Powerwall on National Grid territory.
Wow.
Yeah.
What's the argument for that?
Net metering. They don't want people. Basically, it's the fact that you have the tools to go off grid, and because we're able to give that solution, the utility company doesn't want people to be able to do that right now.
Even though they're arguing
they've
that
literally stopped us from doing it.
But even though they've been arguing for years that the grid is on a very, it could break at any moment.
Yep.
And here you are. If you add batteries, you're helping the grid, I would think, to be able to transition well from, peaks and stuff.
Because then you wouldn't have to use the net metering because you can store your...
right, so they get both sides of the argument. Like, that doesn't seem fair. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
I know. I know.
We need an industry representative on our panel that we can just, ask questions to, because that is ridiculous.
I don't think anyone's going to want to be our industry panelist.
You don't think so?
Yeah. Nope. Because we're going to just yell at him.
Any utility guys out there who want to come sit here on the couch?
Seriously.
Why?
Right. The sauce is really good. I mean, really. You gotta try it.
In California, there was a Senate Bill 700 that got yanked. Now, what does it mean to have a bill yanked? That basically means that you have a bill and it never gets to the floor for a vote. That basically some powerful committee chair gets to go, you know what? Let's not hear about this bill. So SB 700 was a bill that would have funded storage incentives for over 10 years, and it disappeared from the assembly schedule without a vote. So if you live in California, this won't be able to be voted.
You should start a riot.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Go down to Sacramento and start... make your signs for
ridiculous.
Senate Bill 700. So Senate Bill 700 is a very important bill for you guys in California. It's very similar to the California Solar Initiative, which was implemented in 2007, which had a goal of delivering 2 gigawatts of solar panels to residential and commercial rooftops. And that was supposed to be for the next 10 years till 2016. That bill was fantastic. It actually produced more than 2 gigawatts of solar panels, and it really helped launch solar in California. The idea behind Senate Bill 700 is to do the same thing for battery storage, and yet you're not even getting a chance to have your rep vote on it. So contact your senators, get that bill to the floor so that you guys can vote on it next year in California. I guess Jesse's big question here was,
why is no one in prison?
Yeah.
I mean, how can you take a bill and just be like, well, we're not going to vote on it? Like, I mean, I don't know. It just seemed like, how can you be so scuzzy about it?
Yeah, backroom politics.
Scuzzy.
like what?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure it's because some lobbyists made some phone calls.
Right, but why is no one in jail?
Well, here's the thing. Those lobbyists knew to make the phone calls because that's what they do for a living, right? They knew this bill was circulating. They made the phone calls. They made the promises, whatever. They got it tonight. Us citizens can't make those phone calls because we didn't even know about the bill. We didn't. If we had known about it and been able to put a big lobbying effort of our own, we might have been able to get counteracting phone calls to go in. But we didn't know.
I've got it. We make counter lobbyists.
Counter lobbyists.
So they're just there to make lobbyists' lives difficult.
I love it.
So they come out and, oh no, all my car tires are slashed again.
Yeah. They do illegal things. I was thinking they would do it legally.
Oh man, yeah.
Well, okay.
Hey, you got to fight fire with fire.
I guess so.
They're doing that.
It seems like what they're doing is illegal. Maybe it's not. Definitely. Maybe they just drive in front of the lobbyists really slowly, and you get a ring of 3 of them, just trap them in there.
They can't get to work.
Right,
yeah. I mean, I'm serious. And then, you're a crappy lobbyist for firing you and hiring Todd. And then you do the same thing to Todd.
Right,
and he has no idea. It's his first day on the job. Oh, I'm going to get a lobby. Then he's just like, I don't know why I can't get to work.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
It sounds like Rick and Morty, bro.
Rick, I don't know how I'm supposed to lobby if I can't get to work.
That's funny. And what works really well is that if you drive past them and you say, hey, Todd, I know where your kids go to school. I'm just saying, I happen to know.
There you go. Counter lobby.
I just happen to know where they go to school. So, hey, have a nice day.
Yeah. I'm just saying, you know how you can know who your representative is? I think you should know who their lobbyists are.
Yeah.
And you should be able to send them nasty letters.
That's fair.
Yeah.
I mean, that's fair.
That's a good bill. Let's write it.
Yeah.
Yeah. The Know Your Lobbyist bill.
You have to register as a lobbyist.
Have your picture in the paper.
Yeah.
I love it. Email published.
I don't know. I mean, I'm just saying, this is ridiculous that they can
that this happens.
Operate
this
in
is
this
even
level.
A thing.
This is like some Russian thing. It just sounds like something that would happen in Russia. The bill, I do not know. That's French.
Yeah.
I do not know where the bill is.
Yeah.
Oh, shit, still French.
Yeah, right.
The deeper French whale.
Actually, in Russia, they'd probably be killed. They just disappear.
Right. But I mean, the guy would disappear, not just the bill. And
What happened to that guy?
The whole committee.
What guy?
He was here 10 minutes ago.
Why is this French guy here in Russia?
Kill him too.
All right, let's go back to Model 3 for a second here, because this is the big week, right? The big push for the delivery. We've all seen tons of pictures of the Model 3. Now we've actually gotten to see the final, Elon's Model 3. But we don't know all the specs on it. We just know what we've been told up to this point. Do you think there's any hidden secret feature that hasn't been figured out yet?
It's going to be unveiled at the delivery event, but we have not heard about it.
Or do you think
yet.
this is basically the car we all think we know? The 215 miles of range, supercharging capable.
I'm going to ask Rich first, because Steven looks like he knows something.
I can't say either way.
I have a question. Now, I remember a while back Elon Musk mentioned that there was a surprise along with the Model 3. You ever figure out what that was?
No. I didn't figure out what it was. Did you?
He said there was a surprise.
Yes. Right, in the part, there'd be a part 2.
There's a part 2.
There was no part 2 that I know of.
The unveiling part 2, right.
Right.
No, I think that is the delivery event.
You think that's a delivery?
Yeah. No, I mean, I think that, I don't know.
There's got to be something.
Well, what do you think? What do you
that's
think?
what is it?
What's your intuition?
Display? Is it, is it a color? Is it, I don't know. Right.
I'm not really sure.
We gave you a butter knife, would you?
I instantly know.
Yeah.
I instantly know what it was. Got a butter knife, yes.
Or do you think there isn't anything? I mean, maybe haven't been able to hide it, so whatever we know about the car that's what it is.
Because everything he's mentioned so far, we kind of already knew. We knew about the center display. We knew about, the charge. Actually, do we know about the charge port architecture? Do we know what kind of charge port it's going to have?
We know that it takes a supercharge, but we don't know if there's extra charger there for something else.
We knew that there is. It's a big open space, but there's just a Tesla port in there.
Right.
At least that was on some of the candidates.
We did find out yesterday that the front seats are electrically controlled, so it's not like you have to pull your seat forward.
Right.
It's
like in the Stone Ages.
Like in the Stone Ages.
Right.
So we know that.
Right.
We know
2013 Leaf.
We know that the rear seats fold down. That's something we know.
He's got to be hiding something big. It's big. He's smiling.
John, I can't say things.
All right.
That's good. That's a good sign.
That really is a good sign.
That is a good sign.
Let's read into the tea leaves on that one.
Yeah.
I think it's range. I think that we've heard from a bunch of different sources, and we're gonna. By the time you see this, we will have talked about it on Tesla Time News. We think that it's a range thing. That you're going to get. We've all heard the magic number of 215 miles.
I think it's going to be higher than that.
I think it's going to be higher than that. I wouldn't even be surprised if it was close, pushing 300.
Right. I think that would be on the bigger battery pack level, but that's certainly something that some people really like. That's why people are getting 100 Model S's and X's.
And I'm going to make a prediction. This might already come out by the time this video comes out, but I'm thinking that he can't do anything too great for the Model 3 because he's got the Model S and X that he has to sell. So if he makes the 3 too great, I'm thinking that it's a range thing, and that miraculously, the day after the Model 3 is released, the Model S's and X's, all the new ones coming off the line, will have some kind of software thing that'll go, bloop, you got more range.
Ooh.
Maybe. Or bloop, you have a Model 3 too now.
Look in your driveway.
Pretty enticing. I'd have to jump on that, I think.
I mean, I'm just trying to
Buy
think.
Model X, S, and X.
Get 3 Model 3s
for free. You should work in their marketing.
That's a great idea. That's not a bad idea.
All right, well, let me think of one. I
mean, heads-up display was thrown out for a long time.
Right.
In pretty no uncertain terms, that was sort of shot down.
He pretty much said no. So I've pretty much gone.
I don't think it's a heads-up display. I don't think I need a heads-up display.
Right. I thought I needed one, but the more I've been thinking about it, I don't think I need it.
What do you guys think about the center display, by the way?
It's really great for a lot of things. Mm-hmm. For most things. For the map, having the map so big. I mean, the other day we were driving around. We were about to shoot Tesla Time News, and then we were like, "We're just go for a drive because it's electric. It's electric. You're not going to break down."
Right.
It's the way it's where. We were driving around. We have Google. I mean, it's Google Maps open. Big screen. We're like, is that a solar farm over there? Like we were in some weird part of the neck of the woods that we never get to. We're like, is that a solar farm? We pull in. It's a solar farm. We're like, oh sweet. We saw it from satellite imagery from the sky. Now we are here and we can record it in front of basically what people thought was a green screen. It looks so nice. Having that, I mean, every other car that has like a little in-screen map is first of all this big,
right?
And you're like, I think taking a left with the thing, your co-pilot can zoom way in. Like, okay, you're gonna want to be in like the second lane to the left, because then you can get to that level of detail, and you can see actual imagery. And I don't know what else you want.
What about?
What do you want to know?
What about the display no longer being the center? Because for quick information updates, like how fast am I going? Am I going to get arrested for the speed? Radio stations, etc. How do you feel that all the information will now be put towards the right? Because in the Model S, you have that same giant screen, but you also have a instrument cluster directly in front of you that tells you the vitals, like hey, am I out of charge, or how fast am I going? Now all the information you need will be on one screen. So imagine the Tesla Model S taking away that instrument cluster and putting the rest of that information on that screen.
What I've been learning about humans is that we don't know what we really want. We just think we know.
We have to be told.
Right. We're basing it on our life experience. And so when you tell me that something's going to be different, my first reaction is always, that's different, which is bad.
Right.
Because I don't know anything else. So I think that's where we always come from when we're looking at something new, instead of being like open-minded about it. Because I see that on all the forums. When they heard that and they were like, there's only one screen, like, I'm not buying that thing.
Right.
I need my speedometer.
Right.
I don't honestly know. I don't think I need it, but I mean, I think just like, let's be open-minded. Let's drive in the car first and see, because I think it's going to be on the left side near the driver. Yep. And I don't think, there's plenty of cars out now that you have to look in different spots than you're used to. Right?
Mini Cooper and the Toyota Echo, I want to say,
and the Plymouth Prowler.
Oh my goodness!
Wow.
So you look to the right.
I've great obscure reference.
And on top of that, I don't think we're going to be driving it the same way. I mean, I think that in a year or two, it's going to be much more autopilot than we're even thinking of today, and so you're not going to be looking at your speedometer the same way. But
right for the types of driving where you'd want to use where you'd be looking at your speedometer.
Right. So when you're in the city, for the most part, you don't need to look at your speedometer. If you're going that fast that you need to look at your speedometer in the city, you're doing something wrong.
Oh, I was talking more about like if you were on a mountain road and you're like, there's I'm just going for a pleasure drive.
Oh, I see.
I'm not going to be looking at my speedometer unless I'm racing.
Right.
Unless I need to take that curve at 60 miles an hour.
And same thing on the highway. I mean, if you're going that fast, you're going to be able to judge from other cars. So, I don't know. What is that number for anyway? It's mainly just to make sure that you're within the range of the law and that kind of thing, I think, isn't it? Right? Just to kind of double check.
All right, well, here's a test. We're going to get a black construction paper, and I want you to cover your instrument cluster.
I love that
But
idea.
then how are we going to get the speed over on the other side?
What do you need the speed for? Remember, we just talked about that.
No, it's a good point. I actually on my Leaf, I can adjust the brightness of my center display, and I've been recently turning it down very far.
Let's do a Model 3 simulation.
Yeah.
Just put a blanket over the instrument cluster and say, hey, this is what it is.
This is what it is.
Let's go from there. I agree with your previous thought about we need to be told what we want.
Yeah.
Because this last example, per example, is the one wheel, the skateboard. Like someone told me, like, hey, they're coming with a skateboard that has one wheel, and it's going to cost a lot of money, and you need it. And I said, this is the dumbest thing in the world. Why would you ever want to have like a skateboard with one wheel? They normally have four, and I have to like go to the side. It's the dumbest thing ever. And I brought it the other day because I have one now.
Right.
And now I need it.
Didn't I see a video of you where you couldn't get off it? Or was that just you being fun? It was on your Instagram.
That was me being fun.
Oh, okay.
No. I know. That's when I first got it.
Oh, okay.
And I was first learning to ride it.
And you
I literally could not get off.
Because you're going down the street like, I can't get off.
Yeah, I can't get off. I was like, hon, could you please stop recording me? Because I really can't get off this thing. And I crashed into the grass later.
Awesome.
Yeah. Awesome. Wow. Well, speaking of things that don't go quite right, let's talk about the Ford Explorer. The Ford Explorer that's blamed for alleged carbon monoxide leaks that sicken cops. So if you could play that CBS story there. So is this going to move the needle with this Explorer problem? Is this going to make, are enough people going to hear about this to go like, maybe we should change over our police force to Model S's so that this doesn't happen, because that's something that can't happen in an EV.
Right, and this is, you brought up a good point. I think a few talks ago, that it is, everyone is so accustomed to having an internal combustion engine car. Now, if you were to have an alien come down from space, from Mars, for example, and you had to sell them an ICE over an EV, it is so difficult when you think about it.
Right.
You have to say to them, hey, listen, we're going to put this highly flammable and combustible liquid,
Which also is terrible for you.
which you don't drink it, you'll die.
Don't drink it. Don't inhale too much of it.
You'll die instantly, right?
Yeah.
We'll put it in your car.
Well, I mean, it is an alien. We don't know.
Yeah, true. Yeah, you don't know what that means. yeah, true.
Okay, a humanoid alien.
Yeah. Exactly.
Okay,
You have to fill it up, right? And you can't leave your car running for too long, because what comes out of the tailpipe is also poisonous. Right. You can't start it in your house, because it'll fill your house with that same poisonous gas and probably kill everyone in the house as well. You just can't do a lot of those things, and even selling that, it's super difficult. And this is case in point as to why people are moving towards more EV. Whether or not police forces are willing to move to EV, that'd be a tough push.
I don't know, because I took our local one of our local police officers high up in the ranks. I won't say who it is in the car, and he was excited.
Yeah.
When I talked about all the different features, like the fact that it's quiet when you're sitting there, the acceleration, he didn't know that the range was as good as it was. And he was like, "Yeah, this would be awesome."
Right.
Basically, I think it's just a matter of price.
Yeah, I think that's.
So I think when the price comes down to Model 3 cop cars, I think would be pretty fantastic.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, that could be it. I agree.
I think especially it's always, you have to hear about it from someone who's experienced something. So I think in these police departments where these guys have almost died from getting carbon monoxide poisoning and then crashing into something.
Right.
That's
not to mention these are the safest cars on the road. Right. Like Model S, Model X, these are the safest cars.
No, but having to go through almost dying over such a stupid thing as carbon monoxide. How long have we been making cars? Really? You screw that up?
And they've known about it for 5 years?
They've known about this problem for 5 years, and they keep selling the same damn thing?
Why can't they come up with the fix? Like, if they know what the problem is, why can't you recall the car? Why
didn't they recall the car? Right.
Yeah, that was impact sales.
Right. It's just absurd.
That's what the money.
But I think at that point you could definitely, if you came to someone with a better solution, they're going to be a lot more susceptible than someone who just sort of heard about this story, or someone who hasn't heard about the story, and you bring it to them. I think that it would be smart if a Tesla owner in that county would go and talk to them and be like, hey, look, that's awful what happened to you. Why don't you drive a car that doesn't make carbon monoxide?
Yeah, I agree. Running. That's similar to what Tesla did when, I think it's Hawaii, or actually a couple other foreign islands as well. They said, we know you're having an electricity problem with your grid not being, sustainable enough to handle what you have for your current needs. And they said, hey, we could fix this problem for you.
Right.
So Tesla should go into this police force and say, hey, listen, one of our officers almost died, and that's really sad. We feel really bad. However, look at this shiny new Model S. You'll never have this problem again.
Right.
I think that Tesla should come up with a model that's not called the 3. It's more of a police name. Like they have the Charger and they have the Intruder. What are some common cop car names that they use?
What would be a good
Crown Vic?
Right. Be called the Shocker.
The
Shocker.
The Enforcer.
The Taser. Oh, you call it the Taser.
And then they could make their software. They could have police software on their center screen so that it could have all the stuff that police officers need right there on the center screen. Don't forget, right now, cops have to have laptops or whatever mounted in the car.
Right.
Which take forever, by the way. If you get pulled over, I'm not saying I have been, but at times when you do get pulled over, and they're sitting on the laptops and they're putting information, that could take forever.
Especially if your file's huge.
Right. Especially if
It sounds like both of you have a lot of experience
right.
with this.
If you have an existing record and another cruiser shows up, then that's not good either. Yeah, that's not good. But but with the Tesla, it has 4G, so that's a lot faster. So they get you going on your way.
But I mean, there are so many different advantages that you could implement.
Autopilot on the highway, and they're just scanning for anything you ever.
Yeah, right.
Oh, absolutely.
Right.
Yeah, they can have those cameras read your license plate.
Autopilot, the cameras, just how quiet they are. I mean, you can sneak up on people in an electric car. Let's just be honest.
Yeah, that's Jesse's big thing, is sneaking up
super
people.
fantastic. I mean, but you could implement like the stealth mode, police cruiser that would, just be completely, undetectable by anything, and then you just, you're pulled over now.
Who would suspect it either? The Tesla, like, I'll just blow past this guy. Oh, it's a cop? Oh, what the heck? Yeah, that'd be good. But the only problem, there's a downside to that.
Okay. Is
that as it currently sits, Tesla is very overworked with their current repair times for Model S's. Like, you could wait sometimes maybe a few weeks, maybe a month, maybe 2 months, depending on what the part is. And police cars get dinged up and run into on a consistent basis. They're always running over stuff, trees, people, what have you, other cars. And imagine, having a fleet of 50 Teslas and a police force in an already Tesla saturated area.
Right.
When the police force says, hey, you know what, this car got banged up, we have a light bar that's messed up, this isn't working. Tesla, can you fix it? And they have 5, 6, 7 police cars at Tesla.
Wouldn't you get a loaner, though? Wouldn't the police get a loaner?
Yeah, actually, they get P100D, maybe.
Yeah.
Good point.
I think they would have that to begin with.
Right. But yeah, I see that being a potential problem area. However, if Tesla were to allow independent shops to do repairs on the vehicles, then the police be able to go to an independent shop.
Well, we did hear about, I guess, recently that little dings and stuff are going to be able to be dealt with by third parties and much easier trainings. Like, they won't have to go through as much training to be able to be certified. So, I mean, that it seems like it's slowly going to happen.
Yeah, hoping so.
Because they are still a relatively new car company.
Yeah.
So, all right, well, let's end on a good story. Remember a few episodes ago, we talked about South Miami, which is actually a pretty small place. I think it's 20,000 people. And they were thinking of passing this law about having rooftop solar on all new construction. Well, guess what? It passed.
Wow.
I'm not going to take any credit for it, but it passed. Well, we found out that law was actually suggested by a young woman who was a high school student. She was 16 years old at the time.
She actually helped write the law.
Yeah, she helped write the law. Her name is Delaney Reynolds, and she started this group, a nonprofit called Sink or Swim, and she basically wrote to all these mayors throughout the United States, and the mayor of South Miami was the first to get back to her, and he's like, this is a great idea, help me write the law. She helped them write the ordinance. Wow. It passed, and I just want to throw this out to you sitting out there. You have a good idea, like, write some letters. Mayors do listen, congresspeople do listen, and now it turns out that there's a lot of other cities that want to repeat this ordinance because they've seen that it can work. So what she started is like a movement now, and San Francisco has a similar law, and there's a whole bunch of other cities and towns that want to pass, like St. Petersburg down in Florida. So if you have a good idea, don't feel like no one's going to listen to you. Write that, write your congresspeople, write your mayors, tell the governors, tell them what you want to do, and maybe they'll listen.
Yeah, just make it happen.
Yeah, that was. I love hearing stories like that. So we're reaching out to her. We hope that we can interview her for the channel because she's very inspirational to me. That's pretty exciting to have someone, because our young people nowadays, they're not taught about civics and stuff in school to the extent that it really seems to matter. They're taught about dead presidents and stuff, but I don't think they're really taught how laws are made and how they can have an impact on things, and I think they feel kind of powerless, and it's nice to see that you're not powerless. If you speak up, good things can happen.
She's 16?
She was at the time. I think she's a year or two older now.
Yeah, so what was I doing when I was 18?
Yeah. Anything? You were up to no good?
Amazing.
What were you
doing? Just scandalousness. But yeah, that's awesome. Good for her. It's great.
That is awesome. Well, any other new news that you can let us know, Stephen? Or are you going to be tight-lipped this week? He's awfully quiet this week. I know,
quiet.
really.
I don't like
I saw him wanting to talk a lot today, but I know, you can't say anything.
The future's coming.
The future's coming. That's good. That is good to know.
It's the time machine, Mom. It's the time machine. We got it, folks.
I knew there
88
was
miles an hour. They're all
hilarious.
set. Anytime.
He was right. The future did come.
Yeah.
Thank you.
If next episode the future didn't come, we're going to be
I'd be very disappointed.
Yeah, I won't be here.
Off the show.
Steven, you're fired.
Well, thanks so much for joining us again. You've wasted another hour watching Off the Grid, but
This isn't car talk.
someone's going to pick up that mantle. If you have ideas for stories for our next episode, please let us know in the description doobly-doo down below. Please don't forget to subscribe and like, and go over to our Patreon where you can support us with a few bucks, and go check out Rich's awesome Car Guru YouTube channel.
Write your registration. I can't cut.
Yeah, cut that.
Someone else say it. It's too hard to No, it didn't have a thing. You set me up. There's no screw through that. What's going on here?
Low budget.
All right. No, it's not. We can do this.